All right, let's get this started. Welcome to the channel. This channel really isn't, I guess, anything special. It's just because I enjoy certain things like anime, manga, and obviously gaming, like, most of us do. And particularly me and my older brother were like really into manga and anime. And so he's going to be a part of this too at some point. And I feel like there's a lot of people that are into these things, or I guess I feel like it's a bit of a niche community that's slowly growing. And anybody who knows the progression. You start watching anime, then eventually, you get to the manga because you can't you're impatient for the anime for the plot, so you get to the manga, and then from there, if you're really deep in enough, then you find your way to the light novel, and that's pretty crazy. But light novel is super tough if you get there. But I don't know. With this intro episode, I want it to be pretty short and just kind of establish what it is going to be, and just talk about some manga that I really enjoy. And I'm really going to be using manga interchangeably for like manhwa, mangaka, all of it. I'm just going to most likely say manga, occasionally say manhwa, whatever. I'm not going to try to differentiate unless it comes to that, but whatever. Yeah, so what I really want to talk about is Apotheosis. It's I guess the full title is Apotheosis, Ascension to Godhood. So it's a super cool, manga that I like. It's more of a cultivation style, and once again, if you know, the whole point of like cultivation is you really start from nothing. It like mirrors the essence of life and like the whole ambition, the struggle, the grind, and coming from nothing to becoming everything. So that's kind of cultivation style manga in a nutshell. That's really what it is, and I really enjoy that. I always enjoy watching, really the grind, and I think it mirrors what we do every day, if you're grinding, and so it's always a bit motivational. So Apotheosis is definitely my favorite one. It just recently ended. I've been keeping up and reading it for years, so I was truly gutted. I was upset. I was honestly shocked and appalled when it ended, but it had to end. And at some point we might really run through it deeper. But it's really about the this guy Lu Zheng. If I'm about to butcher all these names throughout this whole series, but whatever. Yeah, it's about Lu Zheng, and he's really he goes through a lot of trials and tribulations to eventually reach the end of the story. And the ending doesn't really end the way we think, but it's definitely a really great journey. And just watching the progression, it's very satisfying. Everything that happens is very satisfying. And so, like I said, I'm not gonna go too long in depth. You're gonna, see the images. If you're into it, you can read it. I think there's dogma, whatever the fuck they call it. The the adaptation, the VFX adaptation, whatever, dogwa, I think that's what they call it. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, so whatever they call the VFX, like the animation version of it, I think that's dropped. So if you're into it, you can, watch that. But I really recommend reading it. Light novel is good too, but the manga is definitely, 10 out of 10 recommendation. One of my favorites, just ended, heartbroken. All right. So, next one I want to talk about is a similar one, and it's called Martial Peak with my guy Yang Kai. And it's the same kind of premise where it's like a cultivation style and it's a grind from nothing to something. But once again, how these worlds are built and the storytelling and like the power leveling, how they do it, it's really what makes all of these different mangas unique and interesting. And it's always the lessons that the creators throw in that are so analogous to real life and are just so usable in your everyday life that really keep you captivated. And obviously the characters, the storytelling. What I like to say is it's the plot. I what I say when the manga is really good or whatever I'm reading is really good, it's like, oh man, I need that plot. I need to like inject it into my veins. That's how bad I need the plot. I know that's crazy, but I need that plot. So that's kind of how we get from anime to manga to, all right, I need this plot so bad. I'm just gonna read the book. No images, no nothing. Just give me the pure plot. And so it's great. Yeah, so I like Marshall Peak following up Apotheosis. And kind of, I feel like those aren't that mainstream unless you're really in it and you're in the community and you're on these websites and you're like reading it and you're keeping up with the weekly, monthly, daily drops. But a mainstream, manga that we know everybody loves, one of the big threes, it's gonna be One Piece. One Piece is obviously goated, one of my all-time favorites. I've been reading it, I mean, my whole life, really, since I was maybe like 12, 13. I've been, well, not reading it, but like watching it. My older brother used to read it first, and he'd always put me on. Shout out to him. And then eventually I started. Ever since then, I've really been, once I caught up with the anime, I'm just 100% reading it. And what I do now is I let it go maybe 20, 30 chapters and I binge it, let it go 20, 30 chapters and I binge it. And, it's really just because when they give me a short amount, it's not enough. I hate the cliffhangers. I hate being left in suspense. I hate all of that. So I need a suitable amount every time I take it in, and only then am I truly satisfied. But it's not the worst. But yeah, binging it is just once again that plot. But yeah, those are probably my favorites. Apotheosis just recently ended. Man, it's a good binge. If you get caught up in it, I definitely, I recommend it 10 out of 10. Marshall Peak just recently ended. Man, to binge Marshall Peak is really to experience pure bliss. I never got a chance to. So if you get to do that, like from beginning to end, I don't know. You're lucky because they ruined it towards the end with the pacing of the drops, and that really was quite shitty. So all of us who've been following it and like had good pacing and like the momentum was building to the end, they slowed it down and milked it in terms of the release to us on the West anyway. So that kind of ruined a lot of it in terms of the reading experience, but the plot is still gold, liquid gold. So now that it's all kind of pretty much out, man, that binge, it will be very satisfying. And of course, One Piece, Ichiro Oda, the GOAT, whenever that ends, we're all gonna end with it. So shout out to One Piece. As long as it's going, we're gonna be following and reading along. And I guess that's kind of my personal, favorites. And so every, I guess, episode we're gonna talk about it in different ones and reoccurring ones, and if some monumental groundbreaking, we'll discuss. And then we'll talk about gaming too, and certain games that drop and games that I actually play. I don't really play too much or anything, but if I get into a game, it'll be maybe like RPG, MMORPG, or whatever, classic shooter. And then my older brother will come on here and he'll talk about, his depth of knowledge and expertise when it comes to all these things, which is deeper than mine. So it's going to be a good time. And I hope other people that are into manga, into anime, into all these things, they know that, yeah, we're out here. Like, a lot of people really fuck with it, and it's I don't know, it's a cool ass thing to do, honestly. And yeah, get into it. I think it's good for the soul, low key. If you find that good content, it's really good. It's dope. So I appreciate everybody who came through and listened, watched, clicked, whatever. Obviously, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. All that good stuff. I'm gonna have to say all that cliche shit. But yeah, like and subscribe, and so I'll drop the next episode whenever it comes. You know how these things go. People got life to live. But I'm gonna try to do it weekly at first, and then we'll see how it goes. All right. Peace.